Welcome to Culture of Paint. On this episode, we're going to take a look at what's caught our eye over the last couple of weeks in the miniatures painting world. For the main topic, we're going to be discussing backdrops and their role in your painting projects and the apparent resurgence of them that we're seeing. And we'll close out the show, as usual, taking a look at what the hashtag paint cultists have been up to. Now, Culture of Paint's aimed at a mature audience, and we might discuss adult themes and use explicit language. Now, let's talk about paint. And we are back. So good evening, everyone. I'm Henry, and joining me as usual are Matt, Andy, and Rich. How are you, chaps?
Great, mate.
Well, Andy, you're recovered from your jet setting.
I'm recovered, and then I've been assaulted by real life straight away.
Right, it's all right. You'll be all right, mate. Rich has broken his leg again playing rugby, as usual, and Matt's just been unfucking other people's issues. So it's a pretty standard week. With the Culture of Paint team. Loads of people in the chat. What's going on in there? Philip, Johnny, James. Oh, happy birthday, Philip. Guess I can't think of a better way to spend your birthday evening than watching Culture of Paint and building Warhammers.
That's the dream.
That is the dream, eh, right? Cup of tea, good. A few teas. Excellent. Nice one. Well, let's just crack straight into it. It's been a couple of weeks since the last one slightly longer than normal, but we'll be back next week with another one to get us back on track. So in those intervening weeks, what's been going around on the various social medias and whatnot that's caught our eyes?
First up is...
Ooh.
This is me, believe it or not. I thought it was a very Stilo pick. But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff in the last couple of weeks. I thought, oh, cool, that's cool. A lot of it from people I've already shared on the poddy, so I was looking for something a bit different. And I just saw this and thought, oh, that's really, really cool. It's really different. And yeah, it was a very spur of the moment. Really like that. Get it in the body. I'm pretty sure that's from the Sisters of Battle floating throne.
It is, yeah.
Which I thought was a really clever way of giving it some mental shoulder pads. And it's a great paint job, and I love that Titan. I really want to do one at one point. So yeah, that was my pick. Simple as that.
The Ordo Sinister Titan is such a... I mean, as a fan of Titanicus, the game, and sort of the lore all around it, like Ordo Sinister is a very, very cool, very grim, dark concept.
So are they psychic titans?
Yeah, basically it's a massive titan. The driver is a psychic null, so he's like immune to witchy poos, and the guns are the ammunition, as it were, for the gun is psychers.
He ain't got any gun.
So you fire the gun, that kills a psyker, click, dump that psyker out the boot.
Oh, wow.
Keep going. It's very grim.
Wow, that is... I didn't even know that.
You'd hope they don't have rapid fire.
Yeah. It's a great... Like, it's a proper Warhammer 40k concept way of doing it. There's a tiny bit of artwork in one of the black books. We see like their crest, which is this brilliant lion head and all the rest of it. And actually, for me, it's one of the few Titanicus releases that I was really underwhelmed with when we got the official version. And I've seen a few people create some really great looking sort of versions of their own, a little bit more ornate. And like this looks like it's heading in a great direction. I've seen some really creative uses of that floating pulpit Aquila.
Yeah, not keeping it how it was.
Yeah, I can't think. I don't think I've seen that many of the original.
No.
But
Seen it on bike today.
Someone else has done a really nice Titanicus Titan, actually. Again, using those, but it's using it across the front of it.
Oh, cool.
So it sort of creates like a battlement or whatever around the top. Bits. It's expensive conversion bits, but yeah, pretty cool.
I really wanted to do like Matt might be able to answer this. Way back when in the Golden Demon, someone created like an inquisitorial style sentinel, and like the cockpit was completely like custom. I'd love to use it for that. Make the front of the cockpit
Mark Tate's one from years ago.
Like really long time. There was a guy stood on the floor next to it.
Yeah, I think that's Mark Tate.
Is it? Oh, Andy beat Matt to the Games Work to the Golden Demon knowledge. Matt, what is going on?
My
We should
brain.
have a quiz.
It's been a long day. Give him a break.
We should have a quiz. You'll win, but it'll be funny.
I'll be dead last. Yeah,
I tell you what,
my
it's
pick.
cracking seeing so many people in the chat. This is lovely stuff. A few people returning as usual. Jody, nice to see you in there. Yes, Andy is rocking a stash. We were just having a quick chat beforehand. It's a week or two out from getting him on that register. So looking forward to see you on the next show. Who else said? Jonathan Harm. Yeah, loads of regulars. This is fab. It's a cracking pick. I've just noticed a War Master as well, so it's even bigger than the new Warlords. So
have they had to buy 2 of those Sister Battle things?
Looks like it.
In half, surely.
Are there any photos of it from behind?
No, I think it goes the whole way around. So I think they have had to buy. I think they bought 2. Don't know.
The thing is, right, if you're converting, you're already converting £100.
Now you can't see the back of the other wing.
Stop worrying about it. You know.
I think it's one kit.
If this is your thing, just do it.
Yeah.
Like if you got a Titan Legion, that's pretty much your centerpiece, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go big or go home.
For now, like
see, that's where his money for the arms went. He went on the Sister Battle thing.
So he's not going to have any weapons.
He's saving up for the guns.
Yeah.
Run in and headbutt.
Is there a Titanicus category in Golden Demon this year? Is there?
Small scale.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
You tempted, mate?
No, fuck no. But there was one at the last Demon I went to, which may have been the last classic or maybe the penultimate classic that we had before the break. And there was a few, like it's cool. I mean, I love Titanicus, so I'm biased, but I was surprised it got its own category, put it that way.
Well, it's kind of a mix. You can put like Battlefleet Gothic in it. It's for Aeronautica. It's kind of all that stuff.
Oh yeah, okay, that's cool.
And All Night, I think All Night.
Yeah, it was all night. Yeah. So I think
Tarot's,
yeah, Tarot got our mate Tarot, who we'll mention later on in the show as well, actually. But yeah, there's tons of creativity, and I mean, when the thing's this flipping big, there's plenty of stuff you could do.
It's not really small scale, is it?
No, this thing's nonsense.
Well, yeah,
it's the size of Imperial Knight.
Yeah, I've made my thoughts known about that. But yeah, very, very cool.
Cool. Oh, Henry's gone.
Oh dear.
Oh, he's back.
There he is.
Is he?
What's that?
It's fine. We'll go on to the next one. What's the next pick, Matt?
It's Henry's pick.
Brad Gamma.
What is it?
So I can speak about this one a little bit. So the guy who did this, I've picked his stuff before, and he's got this entire Imperial army that he's painted, and he's just done it as a not Inquisition, like auditors, like an Imperial auditors have come in to and he's doing an auditor force. So he's got this guy, he's got a bunch of other people. It's great.
Sick, mate. What's it? Yeah. What is it? What is the mini from?
It's part Imperial Guard and it's part what's it called? The AOS Empire.
Am I back, chaps?
Yeah.
Looks like it.
I've no idea what happened there. Very sorry about that. This project's flipping amazing. Rich, I could hear Rich telling you about it. Yeah, he's basically created the bureaucrats. And he's converted this. Have I gone again?
No,
yeah.
No, I'm still here. Right, yeah. Big, it's a month-long project. Just decided to start in January, I think. And he's just built about 10, 15 of them, all individual characters, all part of the there they are, the sort of, I don't know what he's called in the Procurator something or other.
I love that geezer. The old.
But just what a brilliant concept. He's got Martin's just mentioned in the chat. He won an Armies on Parade for his Stormcast last year. I don't recall what that one is, but he's got a beautifully painted Celestial Vindicators Stormcast, which he's done that half of the Dominion box from last year or the year before. Just really, really nice. So well worth a follow if you like Twitter for your hobbies. He's a great one to follow. Just creative, great paint style. Just
so
lovely stuff.
consistent
And
as well.
Quick,
quick, but still so consistent. Like all of his armies are all of exactly the same standard. You could play with all of them together, and his scenery as well. It's amazing.
So yeah, that was my pick. The HR department.
Yeah.
Quality. I'm glad I got the explanation for that.
Nice. So next, this was my pick. I figured as we're doing backgrounds, go over background. So it's
Nice.
a Sith Lord, Star Warsy type thing. But mostly interested in the background, obviously, because it's pretty sweet. There is a close-up picture of it.
Does it come like that?
I think there possibly might be a bit of conversion on it. I didn't read too much into the description, but can have a look. But yeah, thought it was pretty cool. The
I'd like to
background
get it any one day.
it's like
That's good colours, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice sort of colours for it all. But yeah, that's my pick.
Very, very sort of 2019 colours there. I feel like a lot of music I listened to.
2016.
A lot of music I listened to over that period. Yeah.
It's
that.
It's got like a synthwave theme to it.
Yeah, big time, right?
Magenta's not in anymore.
Is it not?
Oh, what are you going to do, Andy?
Hey?
What are you going to do?
When was I only paint drab now? I'm cool. I'm like, yeah, boring.
Oh, right. Mate, you need to paint some twigs purple. That'll be like hobby, whatever the word is, like zenith or whatever. Combine your two greatest loves.
Twigs
And purple.
Not into purple this year, mate. It's 2022, new year, new colour.
I just realised he's
No,
put
no,
on
it's
the
green.
He's put on the base. Here lies the cold, dead remains of 2020.
Bleak.
Appropriate.
Oh, dear.
I do like the painting style on that base. I think it's really cool. Like, do you think they've painted the base to look like the backdrop, as it were?
Yeah, you got to do it loose, right? So it ties together.
He has some really interesting like video tutorials on his account of how he does a lot of background pieces.
Right.
There's sort of videos of him going through how he does them and like how to get like perfect like planets, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
Definitely worth checking out.
Nice pick. Well, I'm sure we'll probably mention some stuff like that in the main section, seeing what the chat's on about there.
Le chat.
Nobody expects the taxation inquisition. Yeah, I know, right? It's the flipping auditors.
Oh, don't talk.
Adam's asking, when are we going to see an army of test models on YouTube channel? Now, I don't know if that's as in when are we going to see Rich?
When are we going to see Rich on the YouTube?
Or if that's a dig at mine and Andy's less than successful army projects over the last 18 months.
I think we should get Rich on the YouTube.
But we're definitely, Rich is just saying off air, he's booked in for his first Kill Team event. So I think we'll certainly make sure we get some footage from that, and maybe you can get some nice images of some good kill teams, and we can stick that up as an episode and have a chat around that for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. That's a nice pick, that, Matt. I hadn't come across that. But you say there's a ton of stuff on that account.
Mm-hmm.
So nice one. All the accounts, as usual, guys, will be in the description for the video, so you can go and check them out and give them a follow if you want to. So we've got one more pick.
Next up, we've got a few more picks.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
More backdrops.
Who's this?
Who's this?
This is I think he watches the podcast sometimes. But yeah, he is a brilliant account. He's very, very creative, and he also collects loads of cool pieces.
This is amazing.
Yeah, he's got not very many followers at the moment, and he's absolutely fantastic. So I really recommend following him. So you've got 2 Neko Galaxy miniatures combined together there. And I think he does a lot of stuff that's like not war, like life dioramas. Nice. But yeah, really love his account. Super creative guy. He's done loads of other cool stuff, but I picked something with a backdrop, and I thought this was a nice interpretation of a backdrop as well, because it's not like a scene. Well, it is. You've got like the sky, the floating islands, things, which is making me excited for Breath of the Wild 2, and it's going to be great.
Like the spaceship out of District 9.
Yeah,
and also Laputa vibes as well.
It's got everything. It's got shadows. It's got a backdrop. All the gimmicks.
It's also quite original for miniatures painting, right? Like, I understand that art style exists, but that is like, I've not seen miniatures painted like that before. It's not quite cell shaded, right? But it's in that sort of.
Is there another one of his, Matt?
Wheelhouse.
We do.
There's another one.
This one.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah.
We were talking about using frames, weren't we? That's got some strong Radagast vibes there.
Yeah, really cool. Love his stuff. Always, like, every miniature is really different. Like, as in different in the miniature world and different for him. You know, it's like he doesn't stick to a style.
Yeah.
In the miniature world, or even himself, he just mixes it up, and I love that in the hobby. So,
just a very creative person.
Yeah.
I think from before, was that where he's just literally got a longer backdrop than the miniatures, and he just stuck it to it so that bit comes out? Is that how that works?
Yeah, just a long old. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah,
it's really such a good idea, because I've never seen anything like that. Because normally, obviously, it would stand to reason that your base is the start of your model.
Yeah.
The backdrop works up from it, whereas that just goes.
Yeah, it's an amazing presentation. Love the colours as well. Love everything about it.
Reminds me of that ice lolly. What was it called? It was fudge flavoured. It's all a load of weird, real desaturated colours like that backdrop, but all like
it's giving me a very like Ghost in the Shell / Arcane / very sci-fi sort of.
Oh, is Arcane that one that was on Netflix? The thing that's the video game. Yeah, I watched the first episode of that the other night. It's cool looking.
Also, Lehman Russ hatch.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that the back of a Lehman Russ? It's stuck on it nice.
Yeah, it is. I think so.
That's awesome.
Nice. I've got several of them, and I've never bought a Lehman Russ. But in the bits box, they're sat there. So, yeah, no idea what that's about.
That'd be a funny episode. Just pick a random bits box and work out where all the bits come from.
No way. There's some, people are loving that in the chat. Very 50s take on sci-fi. Yeah. It's just very, very different. It's really cool. I'd love to see a game that was a bit more like that. That could be really cool. You said there was a few more picks, did you, Matt?
There's just that one, and then there's the obviously this one.
Ah, nice. So this is the LVO that happened, Las Vegas Open that happened recently, a week or so ago. Andy was over there teaching some classes, which was awesome, but also got the chance, didn't you, mate, to go and look at the painting comp. And funnily enough, there's a bunch of backdrops in the winners, including flipping Lion-O.
It's unreal, that Lion-O.
Seriously?
It is unreal, that Lion-O.
So we'll make sure we find the accounts for these, because we only just added these just before the show started. So we'll make sure we find the accounts for the 3 winners here and stick those in as well, because I'd love to have a look at some proper photos of them, not just some candid ones.
This is actually this is the judges table. So this is judging the top 3 best of show.
Right.
So lining up the 3 pieces and deciding who is the best of show out of these 3. And I thought, this was the top 3, and 2 of them had backdrops. So I thought, talking about backdrops, and this is only a week ago, it's very interesting. And
magenta, mate.
Yeah.
Actually,
what was really cool is the backdrop comes off. So it's magnetized. So for judging, you can just take it off and look at the back. That Lion-O is immaculate.
Doesn't that defeat the whole point, like, of having a backdrop, where you don't have to worry about painting half the miniature?
Well, that's what's cool, right? Because he's painted the back unbelievably well, and it's immaculate, that miniature. He's taken so much care over every millimeter of it.
Where's it? Is it an STL? Is it a company doing them? Is it a one-off?
It's a one-off.
I would buy the shit out of a bunch of Thundercats miniatures.
It's a 75 mil. The sculpt's amazing. Steve Garcia is the painter, but I can't say higher words about that miniature. It's one of those miniatures I'd love to own. Like, really love to own. Love Thundercats. Paint job's perfect. It's brilliant. That got best of show, by the way.
Nice.
Good work.
Yes, lots of Thundercats love in the chat there. I was going to say is that someone says in the middle one is Kahaz. Is that I don't know how to pronounce her name, but yeah, that base is very like a calling card, isn't it?
Can't pronounce her last name.
Yeah,
it's hand carved out of wood, that base. So she carves it out of wood.
Oh, that's clever. So to get the waves and stuff, that's really creative.
Yeah.
She did that brilliant was it a Lord of Change or Magnus? Yeah. I'm sure there was some Zinchi thing she did. It was real, like it was one of those. It was the perfect piece for her style of that sort of energy coming up from the base and stuff. And is that did you call it an Oni? Is that what they're called? The little demon thing on the left. Mm-hmm. Love that base. Like, yeah, big jungle, big fan.
The freehand on that's amazing. So definitely go check out photos of that close up, because on his gauntlets it's got like really nice NMM and then amazing freehand through that. So cool. Really awesome. All three of those minis.
Yeah, good stuff. How was it as a painting comp in general? Because like the LVO is not pitched so much as a convention, is it, compared to say something like Adepticon? Like LVO is a lot more gaming focused, right?
Yeah, there's they call it Journeyman, so it's like a more sort of standard category. So in like Monty, they have standard and master, and they call it Journeyman. So you have like that, and then there's the other stuff. So you've got 2 levels, which is nice, so everyone can enter.
Right.
And this year, these heavy hitters turned up, so that it sort of brought the standard up, which was really nice. So there's normally some good pieces there. It's a small show, but it's really nice. You get to see some amazing stuff. I mean, these 3 are unbelievable. So just pretty cool that it's there.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well done for getting them snaps, mate. Right. Is that it for picks of the week? I think it is. So no meme this week, but a nice
for that logo.
A nice second. Put it this way: there were many memes that were all possibly Eldar themed that we decided against. So who knows? Maybe for the Eldar show, we'll chuck a few of them in. I'm a little disappointed. The Kez one is not in there, if I'm honest, but it's okay. I'll get over it.
I completely forgot about it.
It's all right. You work hard, Matt. Don't worry about it. Main topic: backdrops to the future. So as we've just seen then from the pictures Andy took from the LVO and some of the ones we had in the picks of the week, backdrops appear to be in vogue again when it comes to display painting miniatures. So what we thought we'd do is have a look at the role they've played traditionally, because they've been around for donkeys, and also the variety that you've got in them, whether it's a sort of a purpose-built backdrop plinth, or perhaps when you use a building or a tree or something else to act like a backdrop. And we'll sort of grill Andy a little bit onto why from painting decisions you might choose to do that sort of thing. But we'll also talk to Matt and Andy particularly about just sort of what they've been seeing trend-wise in painting competitions, and perhaps what they're looking forward to seeing over the next 12 months in the upcoming comps. So let's fire straight into it. I've got no idea what order. It's like, so, okay. So this is from Monty a couple of years ago, right, Andy?
Yeah, this is my picture, actually. Not that it matters, but yeah, I thought it'd be nice to have like this is how it looks in the show in real life. It's like, sometimes you get, Instagram pictures and it's pristine, amazing lighting, but this is literally on the shelf at Monty, and you can see how bold it is. And me and Rich were here at this show, and man, did that stand out. Did it stand out? It's just like, boom.
I remember when you sent the photos through from the show, and it was so different, not just in the fact of it's a backdrop and all the rest of it, but just the actual colours used, the subject, all of it was just, it was one of those, as someone who's quite casual when it comes to looking at miniatures outside of particularly sort of 28, 32 mil, and manufacturers like that, it was another one of those, oh man, I really need to see what else is out there type thing,
I think at the time as well, at the show, there really wasn't a lot of other backdrops. So when he put that out on the shelf, it was kind of sat in the middle of this whole long table, just a great big orange strip, and everyone just looked at it and was like, what is that?
That's perfect for a competition though, right? Like
everyone was flipping around
best of, I think. I can't remember. There's a lot of best ofs. I don't know which best of it got. But interestingly, I was looking for these photos from Monty and going back to 2015, and I did notice, like my older album of Monty stuff, there were far fewer backdrops because I couldn't find any of examples to send to Matt. So I definitely feel the last few years it's kind of increased the amount of backdrops we're seeing. But that one, I think that one's 5 years old now, and I think that was definitely at the start of more coming in, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that was one of the first ones that I'd ever seen, I think, in real person. And I know they've been around for a long time, but I'd never really been sort of shown them before. And I remember seeing that thinking, God, that's such a good idea. It's so different, and it creates such a different level of depth to telling a story. Because that model itself, I can't remember where the model's from, but it's got like
it's
his skull. Yeah, he's got a few. He's got like a Space Marine. A Games Workshop Skitarii rifle on there as well, which just happens to be the perfect scale, and all these different bits that he's put together. And it's just such a really, really thought out, really clever idea and executed so well.
The coolest thing on that piece is that the sculpt gets softer as it goes further back. So the hooves at the front are sculpted sharper than the hooves at the back, and the painting matches it. So it's like getting bokeh on a photo. But because he sculpted it rougher, and it fades away into the background, which is
Unagi.
Very cool. But 2A is a bit of a force. Me and Matt were saying he doesn't really social media, and I think that's kind of cool because he's a bit of a mystery. But I remember he did the striking Scorpion Wraith Lord for Golden Demon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, who's this geezer? I need more information. Nothing. Nope. He just turns up to a show with like, boom, here's a camel. Like, I made it.
Even like now, it's so hard to find good images of his stuff. Like I was trying to find some more things of this, and everything's like a potato cam, little pixel box.
You can normally find Tui at Monty walking around in like November barefoot. Big beard down to here. He's like a Radagast / Mystic Meg element in the miniatures painting world. Just appears at shows, footless.
Now we did discuss bringing him over for a workshop via Cult of Paint, so I'll have to reach out to if you're watching. Let's get that done. COVID's gone. But yeah, I think the first thing I saw of a backdrop that really hit me was the Blue Reaper with the orange backdrop. I don't know if that's coming on the scroll out. That was in 2014, and that's like one of my favorite pieces. And there wasn't many backdrops then, and I don't know for sure, but I feel like those European shows like Monty Santovino Scale Model Challenge were not where they started, but where you saw them more, and because they weren't at any Golden Demons or anything like that. But it was, if you want to go for those big prizes, like those best of shows, best of painting, that was a thing that the real.
It's a point of difference, isn't it? Right? You've got to because you can liken it to like someone like Rich Gray, whose freehand is outrageous.
Yeah.
And that's his point of difference, right? Mm-hmm. You do a cool backdrop, then all of a sudden, as you said, Rich, you could see the camel from the other side of the room. Landed that Nagash, right? I mean, that's quite an extreme version of a backdrop, right? And a piece in general, right? But again, it's that if you've got to stand out from the crowd, how do you do that? You've got to back it up, obviously, with good painting.
Do you think
peacock?
Do you think with the sort of the backdrops, obviously, more manufacturers are now making them? Like Taro has a line.
That's the only one, though.
Yeah.
Brought to the forefront via us.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to mention Taro, a little bit later on. So we may as well talk about it now. So we Taro.
Oh, there it is.
Makers, good friend of ours, and as sculptors, cast for us and all the rest of it. And we wanted to create a couple of backdrop plinths to release alongside our recent fantasy 54mm Kickstarter. And Tara's since gone on to create, 10, maybe more backdrop plinths.
Decent amount.
So if you're interested, again, we'll pop the link in the description, but go and check them out and have a go. And actually, Andy covered painting his first backdrop on a recent video series on the YouTube channel. But you're saying it's something that came across from larger scale or whatever, or that presentation. But Matt, you were, when we were looking through some like old Golden Demon stuff, it was popular ages ago as well. And then it seems to it's sort of
that was
20 odd years on. It's come back in.
I was sort of thinking about it today, like it's kind of weird because like the people that sort of did backdrops in sort of Golden Demon they're more sort of painters, like the more traditional painters. So they would do the backdrops. I think that's creeping now into like everyone's like people are miniature painters, yes, but they probably struggle to tackle maybe the concept of painting on a flat surface with no details to begin with. But I think people are sort of transitioning more into trying that now, and that's why it's becoming a bit more popular.
I honestly think it's basically Instagram that's done that, and other social media. But I think that you've got people that aren't artists like myself who just like minis, and the more posts you get on social media, the more people have the guts to try it, and I think it grows, and that's what's happened. And then you get people of all different levels trying it and doing different style interpretations, and it can just be simple. Even a plain color looks fantastic.
Well, that's exactly what I was about to say. It's actually quite a broad thing, the backdrop, right? Because you can go photorealistic, you can go heavily sculpted. So your recent one you did on the Woodsman, like there was 2D painting on there, but you worked really hard to blend a scene into that backdrop, right? As opposed to, say, the camel is more or less just camel backdrop. That great one from the top of the show with the wonky cell shade style thing. Again, that's a little bit, that was, I suppose, a blend of the two, right? It didn't try to be overly realistic. The colors in the background were as important on the backdrop as the actual detail that was on it, right? And I mean, you could simplify it further in that it's the difference of when you see a photo taken on the white piece of paper and taken on the black piece of paper, right?
That don't work.
They're still serving a similar purpose, right? Of how to present your miniature, or how to reinforce or increase, I guess, the atmosphere that you want to get from the piece, or the feeling, the emotions you want to evoke from the piece, right? On the slideshow I'm watching right now, which is a slightly different time to what you guys are seeing on the feed, 2A's other one is that amazing dead beastie on this. Like I think I prefer this one even more.
I do
just
as well,
because it's quite haunting, right? It's a real. I've just never seen anything like that in miniatures.
It's sad,
painting,
isn't it? Properly
right? Yeah, and that you would not get that remotely if that was just the beautifully painted model, but just on a plinth as is. There wouldn't be any real. I don't think there wouldn't be any certainly anywhere near as much emotion in the piece because there's no setting to it, right?
Yeah,
you could do it, but the color adds to the tone of the piece. Like it, because it's like grey, it brings you down. Like, with the rest of that, it's like quite bleak, isn't it? It's death. If it wasn't there, it'd still be great because you'd still see the beast getting attention.
Absolutely, it'd still be super cool, but it would be a completely different piece, wouldn't it? Like it's exciting, but I quite like because as you're saying, Andy, like even someone like you who's a very successful, accomplished miniatures painter, 2D artwork is a whole new medium, to start from, and I think, like a lot of things, unless you're doing it on the regular, it can be quite challenging, right? I mean, my friends that are 2D artists, they work really hard every day just to draw, to get better and better at it. So I can imagine, if you're quite pleased with a paint job, I guess it's like freehand, right? You're quite pleased with a paint job. You think to yourself, am I going to do freehand, or am I just going to ruin it? But you've got to do it, right? You're never going to get better till you've done a few shit ones, right? So you may as well just get on with it. And I think exactly what you said, just that exposure to it more via Instagram and whatnot, I think it helps take away a little bit of that unknown. Because I think a lot of painters learn from imitation.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of fantastic miniatures painters out there who aren't particularly creative or imaginative, but are technically very, very strong and disciplined and all the rest of it. So now they can be doing backdrops as well because we can see it out there. I mean, you know how many times on a Facebook feed or whatever you'll get one of those reels pop up of some nonsense website, Buzz something or whatever, that some dude doing a spray can version of the Galaxy or something, right, with a load of ping pong balls and setting fire to spray paint and all of that. It's that kind of street art, right? Super quick street art and stuff. And actually, that's there's tons of videos how to do those types of things out there. So actually, starting off with a backdrop needn't be that intimidating, right? Because there will be a ton of tutorials for relatively simple 2D artwork, right? Forests, Bob Ross, right? Go and watch the Bob Ross. You want to do a little foresty background or something like that?
Happy little accident.
Yeah, go and watch a little episode of Bob Ross, and it'll give you a great starting point. That Athomi Alonso one has just popped up as I'm watching the slides going by.
Which one?
The Blood Angel, the White Dwarf cover or whatever it is. They're going together. That one I think is probably one that exposed a lot of Warhammer fans to backdrops.
Well, here's I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but a question I had is the Ultramarine with the Tyrannid didn't win at Golden Demon, and it's fantastic. And I don't know. I guess I've never really seen one win a recent Golden Demon. And anyone got any thoughts on that?
You've never seen a backdrop winner win a Golden
The last one that I could find it is in here somewhere. It's that one.
Steve Party.
That was the last one I could find that was the latest one.
Saint Celestine, yeah.
Maybe it's similar to, we spoke about the other week how if you think historically back in the old days of Golden Demon, they very much stuck to their IP of it had to be super neat, no battle damage, all that kind of thing, and how that what's being classed as winning stuff like the Troll that won the Slayer Sword, it's evolved the Golden Demon judging into just what's the best thing there. Maybe it's just that, but it's just a little bit further behind. So like 5-6 years ago, you wouldn't see that Troll win the Slayer Sword, whereas now you do. So maybe in a couple of years' time, now that backdrops are becoming more prevalent, they will start itching away. Like God love Golden Demon and all that, but sometimes they are a bit, adhere to their this is our way of doing things, which is fine. But maybe that's what it'll be. Maybe in a couple of years' time, we'll start to see it coming through a bit more.
The thing I find with Golden Demon is that there's a lot of miniatures which have won where the backdrop is not like a purely painted backdrop. It's like a
exactly
wall,
right,
or like a piece of like a diorama or something. And technically, that is a backdrop.
So that was something I wanted to. I wanted to come to, and I think we've got a few slides, have we, Matt, of that type of thing. We don't have to talk about it now, but it's definitely something I wanted to discuss, was this idea of what can serve as a backdrop. But I think sticking just for the meantime to the 2D stuff. I mean, that one by Steve Party, I saw that a few years ago at Salute, I think.
The one best of shout, Salute.
That sounds right. And it's such a good way to stand out, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like that one is less, that shakes things up a little bit less than things like Athami's Ultramarine, right? Because it's still recognizably a GW miniature, just presented in a different way, right?
Yeah.
I think
whereas that Athami stuff is that's one of those great examples of his miniature painting art, right? Because it's taken past painting a plastic miniature, way past painting a plastic miniature. And I guess, yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? Is it too progressive for its time, you know?
I think that as far as like what I was going to say is, I think maybe the sort of person who's inclined to do a 2D backdrop, although is amazing, maybe isn't quite as technically focused. So when it comes down to picking the top 3 for Golden Demon, they'll love the idea, but you know, you go up against someone like David Soper and it's perfect, and then you've got something really artsy. You know, I think they'll choose that, and I don't think that's a negative thing, but I think at the moment it's just coincidental that the type of painter who's likely to do a 2D backdrop probably isn't as focused on the technical side of things, and I think the judging criteria is fairly technical. So I just think that's why I don't think there's like they don't like backdrops or
no.
I think
and that makes sense, right? When it's a first, second, third type competition as well, right? You have to have certain objective markers, right? To go against. It's still great we get to see it though.
That's right.
You know, and you do get the weird ones, right? Like Lan's Nagash, which I feel like it did tread the line between the two. Like what we're talking about. It's all
miniature though, right? It's not paint. It's for me, it's super different to like the 2D painted backdrop, because it's Games Workshop miniatures, because it was made of a zombie kit. It was like a start collecting zombies on the top, wasn't it? So it's and then when you have a wall that you've built or you've used the kit like a scenery kit, it's so different to I've painted just a 2D backdrop. Like I think they're very different.
Are they technically vignettes? The little like, or is that just the way they interact with each other?
That's what I was going to say. Like, if it becomes like if it's a 2D painted backdrop. It's like a single miniature. Does it become like a vignette or a diorama when it's a backdrop but it's terrain?
Well, it's a really tough call, and funnily enough, I've been having just random people have asked my opinion, like, what category do you think this is in?
But that's the thing.
The rules are changing, and Squad's a good example, because someone just said, do you think I can get this in Squad? And it's like, well, you don't have to use a gaming base anymore.
Well, yeah, you had it with your Blood Angels squad, right? That was one of the first times where you didn't have to basically present them stood next to each other, all looking forwards on their gaming bases, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's how it would be with how we'll see more backgrounds kind of integrate into Golden Demon. Maybe they'll have to work out what category that'll fit in, and maybe then we'll see more of them.
I don't know. I think it's like I think it's going to be who does it, because the people who are going to win Golden Demon are the people who are going to win. It's kind of the same thing as when people think it's a conspiracy that the new minis win, and it's not. It's the people who are going to win to pick that model. It's not to do with the model, right? Like,
get your tinfoil hats out.
Yeah, I mean, you look at when you had the 3 skinks win, you look at the names and you're like, well, that's why it won, not because the skinks knew, because it's Camilson, Soper, and Comrade. They all win all the time, and I think just one of those people that would win a Golden Demon anyway. One day will do like a 2D backdrop piece, and
it'll blow everyone's mind. What is this magic?
Who do you think? Who gone? If you got a fiver, who are you putting it on?
Who'll do it?
Yeah, because for me, like, not talking about backdrops, but talking about upsetting the apple cart or bringing something that we haven't necessarily seen a lot in Golden Demon, I do feel like Rich Gray changed it up quite a lot, right? We had seen the freehand and stuff from Kirill. Am I getting the name right?
Yeah.
Incredible, the Knights and all the rest of it, but that wasn't always necessarily seen by people, right? And I do feel like when Rich, particularly that knight he did, that blue knight he did with the Zenith shield, it was very, very different, right, to things we'd seen before. And now it's less, there's lots of people doing.
I think
probably because Rich has taught them how to paint a skull, but you're seeing it a lot more, right?
Yeah, that Thanatar was, I think, more iconic because of the battle damage. I think that one, the Slayer sword, obviously the Blue Knight, didn't even know it was that level. But that Thanatar one, yeah, the Slayer sword, and it had so much battle damage and stuff on it. Rich called that one. But yeah, you just see, I think you do like what you're saying, Henry, as stuff comes in and mixes it up, and someone will come in.
Can you see, as someone who's very invested in the competitive painting scene, and Golden Demon, but not particularly, but certainly it's one you care about a lot. Can you see people that you think are going to bring that through? As you're saying, if you're saying you think it's going to come from an established name, is there someone you can see floating around? And you can include yourself in that, because obviously you had a successful go with the Woodsman recently.
I ain't doing it. I think that it's not necessarily what I meant was who's going to win it is going to win it. I mean, like, not necessarily a known person, but like say Land's piece with Nagash was a 2D backdrop. That still would have won, because the concept was amazing. The painting was the level to win Golden Demon Slayer Sword. And then it's, do they choose to do it in that medium? So yeah, you got whoever is going to go for it and win that trophy because they come up with an idea. Even Maxime, who won with the troll, if he'd have stuck a backdrop on that troll, then it still would have won the Slayer Sword. It would just have something else as well.
I feel like with GD in particular, though, if it is going to be backdrops that are successful in it, I suspect it will be more like your traditional 2D artwork backdrops, right?
I'd love to see
like a classic backdrop. But I don't know if you've got the photo on there, Matt. Like I went through Matt's Golden Demon Compendium Instagram account earlier just to look for some old ones, and there's one of my favorites is there's a piece of Bretonian jousting.
It's on right now,
right? Oh, is it great? And I can't, for whatever reason, the slides are not working great for me. So, but like that's a wonderfully creative backdrop, right?
Yeah.
And that's from years ago, like first time round in the hobby and stuff. Because I was about to say, I was like, oh, it'll be a traditional, sort of almost blend into the background, forests, clouds, some bullshit, whatever, that'll be it. It won't be necessarily particularly creative, right? It will just be a nice harmonious sort of complement to the piece, as opposed to something like this where it's the book in the background, or it's like the 2A's camel. Like I wonder if Steve's Celestine, it's too it's even that's a bit too much in a sense for a GD one. Like, I don't know. I think it's GD's a really interesting competition in that sense.
What about 2A's, like the Dead Beast? Obviously, it's got very small miniatures, but it does use a Games Workshop Mechanicus robot, and he sort of descaled it by putting a human in it to say it's huge. But imagine if that Dead Beast was something from Games Workshop, and it's beautiful, had that backdrop, like basically I think the conclusion is it could win a Golden Demon. It's just got to be right. It's got to be Golden Demon level, because it's not got to just be artistic. It's got to be the top standard that wins Golden Demon, and throw in that artistic backdrop. And I personally think that 2A piece, if it was like, if that had Games Workshop figures on it, be there.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How, like you said, I think it just needs to be the right thing. Someone's going to do it. And like you said, Henry, it probably will be somebody that leans a bit more into their more traditional art style. Like, you don't know, because it's such an unknown within Golden Demon. Because some people that paint Golden Demon paint exclusively Games Workshop stuff. So it's all almost exclusively Games Workshop stuff. So it's really hard to see, like, how good is David Soper at 2D painting. Unknown. Like, we know Rich is very good at it, so probably worth a fiver to think that he might do it one day, and he'd probably be pretty good at it when he does. But also people like Ben Comets, I think, would be very good at it, because he's already started to blend that in with Games Workshop stuff, like the Space Wolf.
I was just going to say that Space Wolf Dreadnought. Yeah, exactly.
Where it's got the physical trees, but then the background's like mountains and like night and stuff. So what's that then? Because that's got physical elements and it's got 2D painted elements. Like, which one is it?
That's the right balance, though, Rich. I think that Space Wolf Dread, that's cool. Like that's the sort of thing I'd love to see like win, and it definitely adds to the piece. Like in the diorama category, How cool would that be to see that sort of thing?
Very.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do think it was interesting seeing that how much backdrops weren't a new thing though. Like, there's a lot of great old GW like GD stuff where it is a real classic backdrop.
Very different style though, isn't it? Still
completely, yeah.
They were there, but there's this more artsy wave that's coming. You know, it's very cool. It's nice to see you can really see the progression in miniature painting.
Absolutely.
Via things like these backdrops, and when we come round to doing his miniature painting art, I think the backdrop can really add to that. And I showed some people actually who aren't into miniatures, like, oh, what are you doing on your podcast tonight? And I just showed them a few miniatures, and they're like, what? That's a miniature. I'm like, yeah, it's proper stuff what we do. Yeah.
So from someone, as I say, someone who's an established competitive sort of display painter, and you've just had your first go at or completed backdrop, what was the driving factor for you? What was it? A case of simply learning a new skill, or this, that, and the other? Was it trying to stay current, like making sure you're sort of looking at trends and seeing how you can bring your work into those, or bring those trends into your work? What was the driving factor for you to have a go at that backdrop for that miniature?
How many gimmicks I can get into one piece?
That was a strong one, to be fair. Twigs, resin, backdrop.
Blood in water.
Blood.
Blood.
Yeah.
Moss, like Gimmick City.
Nice.
Shadows, painted on shadows. So we went in on the gimmicks.
Is it something you want to do multiple times again? Or would a piece determine it, as opposed to you thinking about it before you started the piece?
Have I frozen, by the way? Because
yes.
I have.
In a very, very good pose.
But we can hear you, so it's fine.
Oh, that's all right. That's very unfortunate. At least my mustache is great. I don't know when I'll do. Actually, I do have one backdrop piece built. It is for Golden Demon. I actually forgot when you asked a minute ago. But yeah, I have got a backdrop piece. It's Games Workshop. It is for Golden Demon. So I will get round to that one day. But I think it's just like, does this add to my piece? And my idea for the Woodsman, to have him in that setting, it needed it. Where there's other miniatures, it doesn't. So I think I personally wouldn't force it on a miniature. But if it works, right?
Absolutely. Has that witch on the broom with the moon in the background plinth, has that come around yet?
Yeah, love that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, very cool idea.
And I think it's just the simplicity, a bit like you were saying, Rich, about that one of Andy's picks at the start, where it's not just confined within the space of the plinth, and therefore the base is the bottom of the, the base is where the top of the plinth bit comes, and all the rest of it. Just the simple fact that it's stuck in the middle of the back of that thing, it just has huge impact, right?
I like the way that people have started to do that, because it's the tradition, right? I'm doing something with a backdrop starts there, goes up, etc. But people are already, and like I know we said they're not particularly a new thing because they've been around for ages, but not everybody does them. But I like the fact that even though not everyone does them, that people are already starting to think of, right, cool, how can I do this differently?
Or like, it's a new way of presenting, isn't it? It opens up possibilities for presentation.
It's like, because your miniature doesn't need to be, like you said, attached to a big block of resin and then goes up the back and there's a bit there. Like, I've already, just from thinking, like, as we've been talking, I'm thinking, how cool would it be if there was a scene that you could create where it was quite simply floating in midair, where you attach it to the actual back, like the one that we saw in a similar sort of way, but like have bits hanging off it. I'm thinking of something in my head now, but it's already thinking of like what would work and how can you look at it differently.
Yeah, I've got some ideas that I'm desperate to realize.
I've got an idea to paint a backdrop. What's wrong with me?
Either. On that then, why don't we talk a little bit about this idea of where does it go from being the plinth, as it were, the classic backdrop plinth, which again, check out Tarot. There's tons of them out there. They're all wicked. We've better play around with a few of them. I can't wait to see more of them. And perhaps more of that vignette style presentation that we've seen over the years in pieces. The one that stands out to me a lot is Mark's take on the Paul Bonner Minotaur.
Perfect timing, it's right there.
Oh, there we go. There, a bit of serendipity finally. Because again, I get what you're saying, right? It's not a backdrop because it's sculpted and it's blah blah blah. But I think for me, because it's based on an illustration, right? It's because it's based on a 2D piece of artwork already. It is a backdrop, right? It's not a it's really hard to describe. I really like it, I guess, what I'm trying to say. And for me, I don't see that as being particularly different to something like what Andy's done with the Woodsman, or what Ifami did with that Ultramarine, even where there is this great 2D painting in the background, but he's done a ton of work on the actual base itself. Why isn't that considered a backdrop? And is it a way of bridging that thing between the 3D and the 2D artwork? I know there's plenty of people I know that don't overly enjoy things like freehand on miniatures, because they look at it and they go, well, that's a really wonderful piece of artwork, I get it, right, but it doesn't gel with the sculpture that you're painting.
Yeah,
even to the point of some decals, right? Some decals are very graphic, and that's their style, and other ones look like a painting, and you put it on and there can be a bit of a disconnect, I think, when you see it. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I guess it's the skill thing. Is like, if I had a door and it was a sculpted door and it had a sculpted door handle, I'd be well in my comfort zone. If it's like, cool, paint a door in 2D with a handle, I'd be like, ugh. It's automatically totally different.
But you need the door in the background, right? So your imagination of the piece, of how you're presenting the piece, right, is this Minotaur in front of the door. So the door's got to be there. Right? But it's your choice then, isn't it, of how do you present it?
Agree, yeah. And I think the cool thing is the resurgence of backdrops has opened up loads more options to present our miniatures, and that's just super cool. And yeah, that maybe there's been more of those, like, ones that are an actual part of the mini for a while, but maybe the thing that's more people are daring to try is painting a 2D piece, because certainly that's what was gnarly for me or scary for me, and maybe that's it. So but I think that in general the miniature painting world is becoming more and more creative, so we are seeing more backdrops in general, the total number, then the different styles, different ways to present them, so that all this stuff is branching out and opening up, and it'll all blur into one day, and we'll talk about it less and less, like this is a backdrop, it'll just be
What's the actual sorry, Matt, go on.
I was just gonna say, I think a lot more 3D miniature painters now are willing to take the chance and put the effort in to paint a 2D backdrop. Like, it's becoming more, I don't want to say acceptable, but more interesting for people.
It is more commonplace, right? Yeah. But that's, again, it's like Andy said, surely it's Instagram, right? I think just exposed to it.
Backdrops are massive in historical stuff. Like,
right.
I've seen so many, like, sort of, soldiers with backdrops and sort of, but I think that's coming across now into more of the sci-fi fantasy stuff, which is quite cool.
Well, that's really interesting. Someone mentioned much earlier in the chat, and there's an interesting conversation going on in the chat. I think they're fine. I think they're agreeing to disagree on there. But there's a comment really early on in the chat about historicals. I'd love to get a few people on, because it's just not an area. Rich has an interest in sort of World War II stuff, but really it's not our area. So we'll endeavour to get a few people on and talk about that genre and the painting in it. But I had no idea, like, backdrops was a big thing. In what? No, save it. We'll save it for historicals episode. We'll do it. We'll do it in that episode. What I wanted to ask Andy was what I tried to ask earlier. What's the decision with putting the backdrop in, whether it's 2D or sculpted? If we're agreeing to accept that there's a bit of a blur between those, like, where is the What is it adding to the piece over it just being on a plinth?
I think, like, for me, on mine, I wanted to sell the light source. So it was like I wanted sun rays on the mini on one side, and then if you've got sun rays on the backdrop, you're selling it. And I was thinking that on Althami's piece where he's playing the guitar in the moonlight, and if you paint something good and you go, oh, that's in the moonlight, but obviously he's got the backdrop with the moon, and it clarifies that. So you can add to your story, right? So I think, if it just solidifies your ideas and really sells what you're trying to do, and maybe when you've got like some imaginary light source, but it makes it more obvious, right? I guess that's like what I wanted for mine, but it was also a bit like 2A's. I just wanted that colored backdrop, because you think about from a photography standpoint, it's like why people choose a black background, because it adds to it. It changes your look and stuff like that. And as soon as you're in control of that background, like it's not a white piece of paper or a black piece of paper, then you can add more to it. And we all know people are obsessed with adding contrast and stuff.
Yeah.
I've got a green model, so I have to have a purple base, don't I? So yeah, maybe it's the same with backgrounds and stuff like that. I don't know. I just think it's another way to enhance your mini and your idea, isn't it? And you can sell your effect, especially if you're going for quite a wild effect.
Like with backdrops, you can always present it in the way that you want it to be presented. Like if you hold a single miniature up at an event or whatever, whatever's behind it is going to color it in some way. Like, so if you hold it with a backdrop, the person's going to see it how you intend it to be seen, which is quite cool, I think.
Yeah, even plain black would work. Like I was tempted to put a mini. In fact, I did put one of our Dayguard minis layout on plain black, because I thought it looked better than a normal blimp. I was like, I'm just going to stick it on this black one, because it added just a big block of black behind her. It looked awesome. So that was easy. But yeah, you get control, you sell your effect. But I think people are playing with more light effects, aren't they? Like things like moonlight and whatever, wood through the trees effect, like John Chan's done. And so why not add the backdrop to that to really sell your effect as well?
Absolutely. That's quite imaginative, that one Ruben's done there, isn't it, with the lute player or whatever it is.
Oh,
that different shape of the background.
Yeah, well, the like, surfboard shape.
Plectrum
that's
shape
it.
or whatever. Yeah. That's very interesting. Are there any more slides, Matt, that you particularly wanted to go through for the backdrops?
Can have a look through. There's a few miniature ones which we were gonna. Obviously, like there's the Victoria Lamb one, which was probably the first wall type OSL piece that was
groundbreaking, wasn't it? Yeah. That was absolutely groundbreaking.
But she has a piece of a backdrop in the background, so through the windows so she's done both. So it is a backdrop.
Yeah, totally. I was thinking the same thing. So you got the 3D wall, and then you got a bit of window with a painted on thing. And God, that piece is old now, isn't it? The early 2000s.
Something like that. It's quite old.
Yeah.
His first real attempt, like big sort of competition winning with OSL properly.
Really?
I think, yeah. Well, in
Golden Demon, before everyone just used to spray it with white paint.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's a very classic scene, right? That's if we're talking about reinforcing, like Andy was saying there, reinforcing the scene and the lighting and stuff. That's a very sort of sweet way of doing it, right?
Then you can do your OSL on the wall as well, right? As well as the minis. So that's enhancing the whole feel. But I guess the kind of, I don't know, the conclusion is it's an amazing way to add things to your minis, and it's super cool to see like how creative people are being, and then the backdrop is another way people are being super, super creative with it. And
they're fun to paint as well. Like I've been painting mine and just doing learning how to properly do clouds and a moon with airbrushing. It's like it's a totally different way of thinking how to paint.
Yeah, you get a buzz off it, don't you? It's like when you do anything new, like you first make your NMM look like NMM or anything like that. All these little injections of fun, and it's another cool thing to try, right? And you can do it once and never do it again. And it's a really fun thing to do.
It's interesting. It doesn't necessarily do it for me in the sense, right? Like I think I'm someone who prefers the sculpted back piece, as it were. And that's no criticism of the pieces, like they're brilliantly done. It's just not my cup of tea. The ones that excite me, the backdrops that are getting me going, are where it's suspended on the backdrop. So even if it is a traditional painting like the moon behind the witch, right? So using the backdrop almost as a means of presentation, right, as opposed to just complementing the scene. But particularly things like 2A's camel or mine's gone blank. I forget the name of the artist. At top of the show, the piece you chose, Andy, with the wonky one and stuff like that. But even ones that aren't necessarily, and 2A's, I think 2A's one particular, right, because it's so bold, and it is. I get it. It is a desert in the sense, right? So we've got like it's suggestive of a desert and stuff, but actually it's as much about the color, isn't it, than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's what excites me about that. That's probably how, if I was to try and bring one in, right, it's that creative use of them, right, to bring a completely new can't think what the word is, but it's a completely new facet to your miniature. You're not necessarily complementing or expanding upon something that's already there. It's massive contrast, but very deliberate, and not just look at my color wheel, this kind of thing. It's a contrast of everything, right? It's a contrast of the impact it has. It's juxtaposition. I think that's the word I'm trying to get towards. I think could be really exciting. Like we've all seen the Hobbit in front of his Hobbit hole, right, or whatever. But when we saw at the top of the show that artist you'd picked, who the Lucas Pina old man wizard, against that very is it an impressionist style of trees and stuff? I don't know the actual term, but again, that just complete juxtaposition there of styles and looks, and it was incredibly impactful. I think that for me is where I find the concepts of the backdrops exciting. And I think Steve Party's Celestine is a really interesting middle ground between those, because he has painted the clouds on, but it's pink. It's this massive pink stripe, right?
My favorite miniature, I think, of all time is Martin Gomez, the Grim Reaper in blue with the orange backdrop, and that's 2014. Tried to buy that, but I got snaked out.
So you've often said to me that's your favorite mini of all time.
I think I'm pretty sure it is. If I could pick, I tried to spend a lot of money on buying it, but it got a bit too spicy on the price for me. But I kind of regret that now, even though I'd be broke. But yeah, that piece was like the first.
You'd have dropped it by now, mate. It's probably for the best.
No, I put it in a nice case, so it was dust free, like my Golden Demon entries for the last 2 years. Yeah, that piece still is my favorite backdrop piece, and probably my favorite piece. And that's just a blue man with some orange, and it just it's amazing to look at. It's brilliant.
The thing that I love about Tui's pieces, it's a desert, but I mean, your brain does a lot of the work for you. In essence, it's just an orange background. Like, it is a very, very striking, very bold orange background. And you get to the desert at the bottom, but from there up, your brain does the rest of it for you. Like when you see the background where it's sculpted in, right, it's a sculpted wall. It's a wall. It's telling you exactly what it is.
Do you think that doesn't distract you, though? Do you think because it's plain orange, you actually, even though it stands out the orange, but do you think you look at the face of the mini because that's where the detail is? Because that's what I kind of feel.
I see now, when I look at it makes me think a bit more, and it makes my brain do the work of like, I have to think about the scene a little bit. Whereas I look at, say, for instance, the Steve Party ones, like, that's a guy stood against the wall, leaning against the wall. There's the floor.
It's exciting, mate, isn't it? It's exciting. It's when we did the design for Deagard, we spent a lot of time looking at the graphics and how to present it and stuff, and we came in the end we settled on that lovely gold swoosh, down and stuff. And I love seeing that type of thing brought into miniatures painting. Like if I was into display painting, I think that's the direction I would choose to go in with backdrops. I would want to try and present it, use that backdrop to present the model in a different way, not as in add a backdrop to the model, if
more
that
abstract.
makes sense. Yeah, exactly. There's who is it who's done? Was it Roman who did it? Someone did it with the fluorescence. They did some fluorescent dripping onto a black plinth.
Roman, yeah.
Is it Roman? Yeah. Again, that's the type I bang on about him a lot, but that's there's a massive inspiration. Like that type of thing's exciting, right? To take nothing away from these lovely, classic painting. And again, I think Athame, I hope they continue with that style, right? Because it's a bit different, or very different, right?
Yeah,
it's exciting to see. I've just seen that what's the Warhammer demon, Be'lakor. Just seen him pop up on the slideshow. That's a very interesting take, right?
What were you going to say? Sorry, Rich.
It's by
I was
by Pavel.
Oh, right. No, I was just saying. For me, the difference in the backgrounds is I prefer the simpler ones. So I've got nothing against ones that are delicately painted and really intricate and have loads of detail. But I don't know what it is about that simple, striking element of a color that, like when I look at S2E3, all I think of is Dune, like that film, and those big blocks of color. I don't know why I prefer it when I'm allowed to come up with the rest of the story. If you know what I mean, like. It gives me a color. I come up with the fact that it's a desert and I have to think about the setting a little bit more. Whereas if it's got it really prescribed to me, I don't know why, I just prefer it when it's a bit more open to interpretation. Like the one that we showed at the start of your pick where it's just floating in midair. Like I saw that and my brain went to 2 or 3 different TV shows, books, cartoons, whatever. And I automatically started thinking of a version of it that I wanted to do. And I think
stuff to fill in, right? I think also it is what I just kind of thought was it still is a miniature, right? And when I look at 2A's, that orange, the person on the camel stands out the most because, if there was stuff painted in the orange, maybe I'd spend my time looking at that, which is fine, but it's bold and it just almost gives us extreme out. Like the silhouette of the figure is extreme then. Yeah. So it's all very cool. There's other pieces of painted trees, right?
Yeah, and that softens it a bit. Whereas with the camel, it looks like it's set in a desert where there is nothing for miles and miles and miles. And the fact that he's just done that big orange block, no clouds, no sun, no moon, nothing.
And it's like that
adds to that. Yeah, I don't know why I love it. That's my favorite backdrop I think I've ever seen, and also the fact I've seen it in person as well. And I was stood looking at it, going, "What is this madness?"
Yeah, we were early days as well in miniatures, so that was I guess nowadays. The negative, maybe, and it's not really a negative, but we're saying there's so much more on Instagram, right? Mm-hmm. That maybe it's not as impactful, but then that was holy jeez.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's cool. I think, but then what Henry was saying, there's all these different types of backdrop that'll come in, and then we can still be impressed. So.
Oh, definitely. It's just about where it goes, I think.
You've got to nail it as well, though, haven't you? If you're going to do it as a realistic, quote unquote, backdrop, you've got to do a good job on it, haven't you?
I think that's the most I've pooped myself.
If you draw a crap cloud, doesn't matter how good your model's painted, right?
Still a crap cloud.
Still a crap cloud, isn't it?
Oh, mate.
But I do think that's probably something to consider if you're going into it. Is think very carefully about what you're gonna. I think there's a reason you see a lot of people do those galaxy style ones, right? The star fields and things like that, because there are a lot of tutorials for how to produce that quite simply with an aerosol of some type, whether it's an airbrush or a rattle can or whatever. Maybe don't go straight in with a bustling city scene, with perspective and all the rest of it. But again, how much would you love to see that, right? We don't often see. I don't. Have we seen any on these slides where they've mucked around with perspective and stuff? 2A's dead
Ruben's
dead beast.
Necro thing has some buildings in the background with some perspectives.
And Andrews has floating islands. They're literally like cities in the background. A bit, yeah. So it's all there.
There's huge amounts to play with, isn't there? It's I really hope people stick at it, and I hope it becomes much more commonplace.
Yeah.
So you must let us know from the shows this year, guys. Like, just keep a little tab on what's going on with backdrops.
Well, there'll be at least one.
Adepticon.
There'll be at least one at Adepticon with mine.
Bingo. There we are. Backdrop.
Spoiler.
What's the day count now, Matt? 47?
45 today.
45.
Don't tell me that. I haven't done any painting for weeks.
Ticking on.
It's funny. I think we've all got timers on them. I've got 31 days till my kill team tournament, and I've got to paint 7 operatives and 3 drones.
I don't know what day of the week it is right now.
I have that many until I start commuting back to London, and that's when my GDPs has to be done.
There we go.
Oh no.
Right. Well, let's close that out then for now. That was I enjoyed that, chats. I think I really 2 things from that. We must get on some historical painters to talk about that kind of thing, because none of us have a fucking clue. And enough of you have asked and sort of mentioned it. I think, and you never know, there's plenty of stuff to learn. I mean, that crowd's been using oils to paint for forever, right? Like acrylics is this strange new wizardry and stuff like that. There's plenty to be learned. Right, yeah. Cool. So let's move into the last part of the show. So the Paint Cultists. So we created a hashtag for the show, hashtag Paint Cultists. It's predominantly on Instagram. If you're looking to expose yourself to different styles of painting, different model manufacturers, that type of thing, it's a really nice tag to follow. There's thousands and thousands of pieces on there now. And all I do is grab a couple that jumped out to me from the last few weeks and chuck them up to show the guys. And we'll just have a little natter about them. No idea how this is going to work, because as I say, my slides are all over the shop for watching this one. So you just have to describe it to me. Or I'll try and guess by your actions.
It's pink. It's a space marine.
I think there is a space marine in this one.
It is a space marine.
It is a space marine. Oh, okay, I've got it. So this one I wanted to bring up particularly, like when I saw it first as a slide, I was like, oh, cool, that's that White Dwarf chapter. It's quite striking, it's a nice bright photo, all the rest of it. But I read the description, and what I particularly liked was they've converted it around and moved it around to look as much like the classic 2nd edition Space Marine as possible. I thought that was brilliant. I really liked that idea.
I've got a hankering for old minis at the moment.
So Twitter today, there was someone posted up that classic Blood Angels back a White Dwarf army, the Rhino, the Dread, and the one of each squad, basically, and many people, largely sort of mid-30s white men, were going on about the nostalgia of it, and it's true. There's a lot of that's still the perfect army as far as I'm concerned.
The Ultramarine one from the 3rd Ed Codex as well was on that thread.
Right.
The entire chapter.
It's
still want that Strike Force box.
Must be time to do another Space Marine episode soon, right? We've talked about artistic wankery for long enough now, right? Can we just get back to talking about Space Marines soon?
Can we do a really clickbate title like "Have Space Marines been ruined forever" or something?
There we go.
Then
you've been painting Space Marines a lot all the time,
yeah, and we'll do this in the thumbnail.
When Golden Demon was Space Marines with this one trick.
Love that idea of rookie brushes there. And nicely executed that Tomb Keepers scheme.
Those very big bolt guns. I don't know why it's only hitting me that they're very big bolt guns, but
these are the particularly chonky lads of the chonk Marines, aren't they?
Not heavy bolters, they're extra medium bolters.
They're fat boys.
Bolter XL.
Yeah.
But
very cool.
What's that next, man?
Old school. Speaking of old school.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Speaking of old school, right? This is some old, would it be Hero Quest? Yeah. Advanced Hero Quest. Just lots of joy in those photos right there.
Some very nice painting.
That just happy miniatures painting right there. I bet every single minute of painting those was just fun. Do you know what I mean?
Joyous.
No stress, just fun.
Just joyous.
So yeah, maybe be
Can you
green
have fun
bases,
painting minis?
but you know,
Is the mage giving the finger?
does look like it, right?
It does look like it.
Yeah.
No, he's doing a spell, Matt. Get your mind out the gutter. He's casting a spell.
What's the twin tail comet thing as well, isn't it? That old Sigma one as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, painting can be joyful, right? It's not just about Instagram and self-loathing. So
It's all about the likes.
what's up?
You need to call me after this and tell me.
So this one, here you go. 2 Space Marines, Rich. You're welcome.
Thank you.
This was a nice one of those. I think a lot of hobby groups, or they seem to have this year particularly, have been doing these Secret Santa things where they've been painting models and sending each other. This one was one that somebody sent someone else. The more I see this Hellbrek mini, the more I appreciate it, in the sense of I think it probably looks pretty dumb on a gaming table, right? But
No.
what a great painter's piece.
Yeah.
You know? And I really like this painting style, particularly the orc.
Orc's amazing.
It's just
the blood's really good, and the sword blade.
Right.
Also, how much better does he look in black? Black.
Oh yeah, the copper one is.
Yeah, I don't want
maybe that's it.
It's
Maybe
too
that's
blingy.
not
so,
gold
yeah.
help.
But it was things that I was looking at. It was like there's stuff that looks like the barrel on the melter looks, that sort of heat burnishing tarnishing thing, that looks very like how it would look if you'd done it over metallics, right? But actually the model's NMM. But then you've got things like the glossy blood effect thing, and I just looked at it and enjoyed. It felt there was an awful lot of different styles on this one miniature, but it looked good. It still looked good.
It's the best one of these I've seen.
Agreed.
Because I'm not a fan of this model. It's just normal. For the ones I'd seen before this, for me, there was just way too much shit going on. But I really like this version. It's very cool.
It's very cool.
I hate the Dead Orc normally, but I actually quite like it.
But yeah, lucky mate, whoever got that in the
I know, yeah,
post, right?
That's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work, right?
He best have got something good in return, not just like a spray and washed Necron.
Dry brush marine.
What's up next, Matt? And this is it. You may as well all stop painting and hobbying now, because this person's won the internet. So I read the description for this. This is Goblinardo da Vinci's creation. It was a goblin that discovered the works of Leonardo da Miragliano in the Warhammer Old World, and ate a load of mushrooms and created a load of war machines based on those drawings. Apparently this is one of 3, I don't know, steam tanks or pump wagons or something that they've done. But I thought you'd like this one particularly, Rich.
Yeah, that's super cool. Also, I'm trying to say this without coming across like a dick.
Don't worry about it.
A lot of the times when people have kind of weird and wacky ideas, the ability level doesn't necessarily back up the idea. Like, you've got this fantastic idea in your head and it's not realized to like the level that you would like it to be. No disrespect to anybody, we're all learning, blah blah blah, but this is actually really, really nicely done.
It is, mate. And what I particularly love is the skin on the 2 snotlings. That's like peak mid to late 90s, like top tier execution of that style of snotling, and I'd totally forgotten about it, and now I desperately want to paint some goblins or something in that.
Is this
colour.
thing huge? Like, is it like?
Well, they're snotlings, so they're.
I thought it was like this big.
They're real little. So I think it's probably about big as your nose.
I completely got the scale off.
What did you think it was? Like a gargoyle?
I thought it was tiny. No, I thought it was.
I thought it was that big.
It's probably not much bigger than that, mate.
Oh, right, because this, I don't know, I'm finding the scale very hard to see.
I reckon the top of that looks like a half from a Kinder egg.
Oh, I fancy a Kinder egg.
If you still even get that, I don't know. Maybe you do. But yeah, love this an awful lot. I think it's faultless, right? In that it's a wicked idea and it's been it couldn't be executed better.
Imagine playing a game against that. You'd be so happy. You'd be laughing, rolling dice.
Yeah.
That'd be the best. Be a lovely Sunday afternoon.
But
Joy,
yeah,
that's
I will
what
definitely be spending quite a lot of time looking through this account
Yeah.
after seeing this. I think there's a couple more, Matt, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a few more.
A few more. This was fun, partly because of the backdrop. I thought I'd drop it in there. I was reading the description of this, and someone, I think they pulled a 20-hour shift to get it done for a competition or something like that. I was like, fair play.
We'll be doing that, won't we, Matt?
You know, like, yeah, a
Painting
lot of
on the
people
plane.
can sympathise with that one, right?
Under
But again,
25 mil.
that crossover between 2D and 3D backdrop and all that type of thing. But yeah, it was more like the person chucked it up and was just like, haven't slept in like 2 days. I don't really know what's going on. Here's this model I've painted for a competition.
Strong life choice.
Yeah. Why do we do it to ourselves, right?
Oh God, no.
It's a passage. I don't know. Right passage.
We're
Was there
stupid.
a couple more, Matt?
Yeah, I think there's one or two more.
So Stabgrot, the eponymous hero of Age of Sigmar 3. It was tough to decide which. This person's taken a bunch of photos from all the way around this little scene, this little diorama. Again, it's just happy hobbying, right? Like, what's not to love about
colour.
squigs, mushrooms, loads of colour, a nice little resin pour.
Nice.
That's the best squig colour I've ever seen. Just saying. That orange
Nice, right?
into the pink. That's perfect. Not red.
Do you read it as that squig has disguised itself as a toadstool
It's
and is
invisible.
about to eat
Be hiding under it or trying to beat it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Because I feel like the grot doesn't really know. I feel like that goblin's looking for the squig.
It's
I think it's
active
a win.
camouflage.
Yeah. It's, I need to do a teeny tiny diorama.
Get on with it.
But like just on a, I'll find one of the plinths. I'll get one of the plinths out of the box and got to build a diorama just on like a 40 mil plinth, and not with it hanging 2 foot off either edge. I mean, like completely contained.
No
right?
rocks.
Not mounting a Warlord Titan on it or whatever. Yeah,
Tiptoeing.
but yeah, very cool. But again, I hope what these are showing as well again is just that breadth of stuff that's that we go on. I don't think I've popped any busts or anything, and actually busts seem to be super popular at the moment with painters, sort of branching out from tabletop stuff. It seems like busts are their way to go. I think we talked about that ages ago on a show. Is there one more, Matt?
There is.
Oh. So this was this idea of backdrops or setting pieces or whatever you want to call it. Just a lovely opportunity to paint stuff. And this, I think, was someone had just done a repaint over like an ornament type thing.
It was the Weta Workshop official Hobbit hole thing.
That's it. That was exactly it.
When I saw that, all that came into my head was like,
yeah, right. Love the door, man. Love the faded blue paint on the door.
Yeah. You should have a sign saying no admittance.
Yeah.
Exception party.
Yeah, big time. And look, little painted curtains in the window.
Nice.
Yeah, happy days. I am really looking forward to some Lord of the Rings stuff this year. Big time.
I'm not.
I look forward to the TV show.
You'll like the TV show.
Exciting, right?
It's basically nothing to do with Lord of the Rings, except it's in the world.
It's one for the real nerds, right?
Yeah.
Ones that slogged their way through the fucking Silmarillion.
Yeah. This is for the people that
we've earned this, right? We've put the time in.
This is for the people that knew about Lord of the Rings before Lord of the Rings was filmed.
Yeah, you filthy Song of Ice and Fire casuals, go and watch your tits and dragons. This is about you've got to earn it. But before we alienate too many people in the stream, so I think that's it. Is it the picks for the picks for this one, Matt? So lovely. Yeah. So as I said, there's thousands and thousands to go on and look at there, guys. There's hundreds of new ones all the time. But I just pop through and pick out a few that jump out to me. So thanks for joining me, chaps. I think that was I didn't really know where that one was going to go, so I'm quite excited that it's I'm really excited to see more of that graphic style with the backdrops as a meme. Yeah.
As always, I now want to go and paint a backdrop, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
You've got the tower to get through.
Exactly.
Tower? What?
Yeah,
this week's dream steal, catch up, pound today, sisters tomorrow, Space Marines on Saturday.
Well,
he's got Tau on the background today. Last week it was some other kill team.
As we said earlier in the chat, we're definitely gonna catch up with Rich on his kill team journey, which he's still on, right? So fair play. You called it of your projects for 20. What year is it? 22. You called it for 22. That, and you're still sticking at it, mate. It's working for you. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
You keep on going.
I am literally changing what kill team I'm playing with every 10 minutes. But... and also find out, I was saying about how it seems like it's a great way to scratch an itch. It's not. It just means you get every itch that there is.
Very itchy.
It's worse contagious because you're like, it's only a kill team. It's only a kill team. It's only a kill team.
Yeah. And then you got
I believe in you, mate.
Play like once a week. I've got like 7 kill teams, so I just don't know which ones to play with.
And you realise if you painted all them things for the same army, you'd have army by now.
Oh, mate. It's I'd have the biggest army if I could stick to anything.
But we will definitely be catching up with Rich on his meandering kill team journey in a few episodes' time. When's your event?
It is mid-March.
March soon, right? So we definitely will be catching up on it.
31 days.
Need to get back to your Adepticon painting. Mush. The countdown's on. And if you want to see what Andy's up to, go and check out the Patreon. He's been sort of covering his Road to Golden Demon project on there, and it's shaping up to be pretty tasty. I'm looking forward to it. Certainly one of my favourite categories and one of my favourite sort of characters are going to be in it. So thanks, chat, as well for joining us, including that rather full-on discussion a few of you were having. But I think that got resolved in the end. Michael, don't snap brushing off quick. I don't just because stuff's painted better doesn't matter. Use it as inspiration. And yes, the squig is about to pounce and eat Stavgrot. I agree, Jonathan. So thanks very much for joining us, chat. If you're watching this back, thanks for joining us as well. If you want to get in touch, talk about things for us to discuss on future episodes, we're on all the usual social media places. But until the next show, which will hopefully be next week, take care and we'll see you soon.